Well, thank you, Sarah. Right, good morning. As Sarah said, my name is Malcolm Trigg, and I'm a systems engineer with Attachmate. I'm joined this morning by my colleague Camille Morgan, who is a channel manager. So I guess the two big questions at the moment are whether your organisations are ready for the migration to Windows 7 or 8, and also if you've already migrated, then is your terminal emulator making the most of what Windows 7 or Windows 8 can offer. Now, Attachmate have been helping organisations like yours for 30 plus years, so we not only understand host connectivity, but we also understand how critical these host applications are to you and your organisations. We've found that with the demise of XP support, organisations are really focused now on migrating to Windows 7 or Windows 8. Organisations had plans to migrate at some point in the future, but that point in the future kept moving as other projects came along. Now, as if this challenge wasn't big enough, you have to ensure business continuity. You don't have the luxury of closing down the organisation whilst you migrate the desktops, so this really is a big challenge. Now, software manufacturers, like ourselves I guess, often forget that the Windows migration is one of many challenges that your organisations face today. You are bombarded with requests from the business, compliance teams, industry and regulatory authorities. With the Windows migration and desktop refresh, Attachmate have found that some organisations are looking at how applications are delivered to the end user through application virtualisation technologies. Business are putting pressure on IT to deliver applications to mobile devices, made worse, some would say, by the bring your own device revolution. And at the same time, as you need to deliver more information to more devices, you have your internal security teams, industry regulators and government legislation requiring you to be ever more secure. We at Attachmate understand the pressures that you are under, and we can help in all these areas, ensuring your host connectivity needs are fully met and compliant. So why move from XP anyway? Well, look at what you can do with Windows 7 or Windows 8. You can burn DVDs. File searching is quicker and easier. There's an improved user experience with a better look and feel. The Media Center, you can even record TV programs. And doesn't the taskbar look great with its pop-up thumbnails? Well, but seriously, do they sound like good business reasons to move away from XP? Well, of course, the answer is no. So there has to be more. The cartoon from John Klossner, which has been about for quite a while now, sums up the feeling, since business migration to Vista never really happened at all for the vast majority of organisations. So is Windows 7 and Windows 8, is this really just Microsoft's way of forcing a migration? Well, of course, there are good sound business reasons why to migrate, and many organisations' IT departments fully understand this. For example, research has shown that Windows 7 has less downtime than Windows XP. And the argument in the past, especially with Vista, to migrating was that users weren't familiar with it. They were used to XP, they wouldn't find the change easy, there'd be a lot of training required. Well, of course, today the world is different. People are used to Windows 8, Windows 7, they've got tablets, they've got computers of their own at home. So that argument's kind of disappeared these days. In fact, you could argue that they're less familiar with XP when they come new into your environment than they are with Windows 7. And Windows XP was launched in 2001, some 12 years ago, so it's based on a security model which is at least sort of 10 years old. A lot of talk these days about HTML5, and it's becoming a standard adopted by software manufacturers. And with XP, Microsoft have announced that they won't release Internet Explorer 9 for XP. So this leaves XP desktops with a need to look at third-party internet browsers, and of course going forward, how long will these providers support XP? So you need to migrate to take advantage of the new security model Windows 7 and Windows 8 offers, with users running with least privilege through user account control, the ability to encrypt folders and drives, biometric support built into the operating system, and a more secure internet browsing environment through things like InPrivate. So basically, a lot of it's about security, which going forward will provide the framework to be security compliant. So where will your organisation be on April the 8th, 2014? Because that's the date that Microsoft stopped support for Windows XP. Now, Windows XP has been a good operating system for many organisations, and the business driver to move has been there, but there was never a compelling reason to do it. Hence, most organisations haven't moved to Windows 7. So what does this mean for you post April the 8th? Well, Microsoft will no longer issue new security updates. So when a zero-day vulnerability is discovered, there will be no security update to fix it. And as time goes on, Windows XP will become more and more out of security compliance, both against your internal standards, but also against industry and regulatory regulations. And how much longer will software vendors support XP? And will new or updated hardware ship with XP drivers? It's a huge business risk. Unfortunately, with support for Windows XP ending in April 2014, the decision is not whether to move or to migrate to Windows 7 or Windows 8, but rather how to do it in the least disruptive way. So, are you ready for April the 8th, 2014? As it will be soon upon us. Now, Avanade surveyed 200 CIOs and found that a big concern is that of applications that are classed as legacy, and by that I mean applications that are not fully compatible with the new operating system environment and don't have full vendor support. There is a concern for how well these legacy applications will function in the world of mobile computing. Now, Attachmate have always been at the forefront of technology and have been there over the last 30 plus years, supporting our customers through many migration and business challenges. The world of computing never stops, and we are very proud of our very innovative development teams who ensure that our technologies are always relevant, ensuring that access to the operational and business critical host applications is never impeded. So, we've talked about some of the reasons why moving from XP is a good idea, but what can we learn from those who have already done it? I'll share with you the top 3 concerns that our customers had regarding migration of their host access. We've already spoken about the need to maintain business continuity and how your IT organisation must provide uninterrupted end-user access to mission-critical applications, whilst at the same time keeping your business moving forward by providing newer, more powerful desktop applications. Migrating to Windows 7 is critical to this effort, but any time you change a strategic platform, there's risk and concern. First, you're worried that migrating to Windows 7 puts your business critical legacy systems at risk. Second, you've told us that managing multiple terminal emulation solutions from multiple vendors can significantly extend the amount of time it takes you to migrate. And third, well, the world of security mandates, well, it's a moving target. So there was a great deal of concern regarding maintaining uninterrupted access to mission-critical host applications. Nobody wants to see the blue screen of death, especially when trying to access critical information. And this is one of the risks associated, of course, with legacy applications which are not totally compliant with Windows 7 or Windows 8. But what if you could implement a single terminal emulation solution that is optimized for Windows 7 and Windows 8 and provides uninterrupted access to business-critical applications as you migrate away from XP? By working with an experienced vendor with 30 plus years in the business and a reflection product designed specifically for Windows 7 or Windows 8, you get a solution that has passed a series of compatibility tests to help you ensure uninterrupted access to business applications, minimal change for end users and IT, and a Windows 7 rollout that stays on track. Furthermore, you'll get a solution that provides a consistent, seamless end user experience, no matter which solution used today. As desktops roll over from Windows XP to Windows 7 or Windows 8, your users will remain productive and your business will continue to run smoothly. By using Attachmate, customers have been able to maintain uninterrupted access to their critical host application, whether it's in a 32-bit or 64-bit Windows 7 or Windows 8 desktop, or delivered by Citrix, or even as a fully virtualized application. We support all those different platforms. The next concern customers told us they had was the need to simplify administration. Managing multiple terminal emulation solutions from different vendors can extend the amount of time it takes to migrate. So what if you could manage terminal emulation with ease and flexibility? With Attachmate, you'll have the flexibility to support common software configuration and deployment methods. As a result, IT can focus on moving the business forward instead of working with an inefficient process that delays your ability to respond and put your business at risk. When you work with Attachmate, you have flexible options for deploying and centrally administering host connectivity options. Regardless of your deployment method, Attachmate can provide easy ways to track your reflection software usage, so you can tell at any time which of your users are accessing your host systems. And with Attachmate, you are partnering with the #1 independent terminal emulation vendor worldwide that makes an unmatched investment to modernize your legacy host applications today and to help you keep up with the technology changes that are coming tomorrow. So Attachmate are always there at the right time with the latest technology. So with Attachmate, you'll simplify the way you manage and deploy your terminal emulation assets and applications, and keep those deployments current as technology evolves and changes. The need to comply with security mandates is always a challenge, especially in the world of security. Never stay still. You've told us that you're concerned about your ability to comply with new security and privacy mandates. Your organization's mission-critical data is facing more threats than ever before. Your legacy host applications, however, were created long before cybersecurity became a high priority within your organization. Updating legacy host applications to comply with modern security requirements is a time-consuming and costly process, as your company may not have the necessary programming skills in-house. And even if you do, they have other priorities, and it would take them a long time to update every application to meet every current and future security requirement. And as data protection requirements evolve, you need to be able to respond quickly to new security threats. Therefore, when your users access and use legacy applications, you want to be sure that it is compliant with your in-house, industry-driven, or regulatory security mandates. So what if you could defend your legacy host applications? With Attachmate, you don't need to invest in a patchwork of security technologies to ensure that your terminal emulation software and legacy applications are secure. You can leverage Attachmate's investment in terminal emulation to better secure host applications, and you can do this without going through the expensive process of updating your host applications to address modern security threats. With Reflection's Trusted Locations feature, your IT staff can allow users to continue to run important automations, but at the same time lock down the locations from which these macros can run, gaining central control over the automations that end users are creating and running from their desktops. And when we talk with customers who are migrating, one of the things they quite often tell us is macros is one of the big problems they have. First, because they don't know how many macros they may have currently, and secondly, because there's no control over them. So we have had instances in the past where customers have copied a macro from somebody else in the business, have modified it for their own use, and then because they're not developers and because they are not into the testing cycle, it goes wrong. And let's remember, of course, that these macros by these users are developed on production systems. They don't have the luxury that IT have of having test and development environments. And also in conjunction with Attachmate Reflection Terminal Emulation, Reflection Security Gateway provides a layer of security between your end users and your host systems, so you can add two-factor authentication to secure your legacy host applications even further. So what if you could improve productivity and reduce training costs by modernizing the user's application experience, but doing it without touching your legacy application? Investing in Attachmate means fast modernization of your legacy applications, including application search, a ribbon interface for consistent user experience with that of Windows 7 or Windows 8, and an improved integration with Office tools will also lead to appreciable gains in user productivity. So when you work with Attachmate, you'll be able to comply with security and privacy mandates and be more confident in the security of your mission critical data. Now we've spoken about why there is a compelling reason to migrate to Windows 7 or Windows 8, and also about the need to provide a reliable and secure method of accessing the critical host applications. So it is important to select the right partner and product. With the Attachmate Reflection 2011 family of terminal emulation, you have a product which comes with a number of accreditations from Windows 7, Windows 8, through to virtualization and security technologies. So let's take a closer look at Reflection 2011. Attachmate took the decision to resist the easy and less costly route of simply porting the XP emulation product onto the Windows 7 and Windows 8 platform. Why did we do that? Well, because, as I mentioned earlier, XP is based on a security model well over 10 years old. So we need to ensure you get the most out of your Windows 7 or Windows 8, and also that you can properly secure access to your host assets. So Reflection 2011 was written to work with the modern operating systems, providing a stable and secure platform for all your host access. Reflection 2011 is supported on 32-bit and 64-bit platforms. With Attachmate, you can get all your host emulation requirements with Reflection 2011 family. It supports IBM hosts, Tandem, HP, Unix, Linux, OpenVMS, Airlines and Unisys. So we think we have a full spread of emulation types there. So let's have a look. Here's an example of Reflection 2011 screen. So as you can see straight away, it looks like it belongs on Windows 7 or Windows 8 by having the ribbon which contains feature grouping. Features grouped by common features. So finding options is so much easier. And if you're using more than one emulation type or more than one session here, we have tabs which allows the user to very easily be able to switch between different sessions. We go into some environments where they may have 10 or 15 applications open, and one of the problems they have is switching between emulators can be very, very slow. This speeds the whole process up. Mention the ribbon. We can also customize the ribbon as well, so you can add your own applications into here. So this becomes almost the center of the desktop, so they can use this to drive other applications as well. And also through a full, very rich API support from Reflection 2011, we can integrate into other applications as well. Here's an example of putting some of the Microsoft tools onto the ribbon as well. So as I say, it can become the center of the desktop. But also, we're well aware that different customers want different look and feel. So here we have, if you like, the classic view, whereby it's got the menus and a toolbar, very much looking like an XP application. And for some of our customers, that's what they require. They want their application to look like XP because they want them to have the same experience as before. And that's absolutely fine. We can do that. Also, we can make the emulator look more like Chrome. So it has a browser-based look and feel with the multiple tabs running down here, and the current session being opened like a URL will be opened. But also we're aware these days of mobile technology, people wanting to use things like Citrix Receiver on an iPad or an Android type device. And of course you want the emulator in that environment to look like it runs on an iPad or an Android device. So here we have the same emulator but configured to look like an iPad application. So here down the left hand side we have all the options, looking very much like they do if you run an application on an iPad. We can also have a floating keyboard, so the keyboard can overlay, but you can still see the screen underneath as well. So it means access to some of these function keys can be accessed very easily. Switching between sessions on an iPad or an Android device, it brings up a nice GUI in the middle to enable you to use your fingers to switch between different emulators that are currently running. So you can see that we have different types of configuration for different types of usage. Also as well, we can do things like recent typing. So everything you're typing can be displayed on the right hand side of the screen, meaning for example that you can go back and double click on it and it will insert it straight into your current location on the screen. Also we have screen history. So every screen you visit, it can keep a copy of that screen, allowing you to be able to go back to that screen and display the information from it, copy and paste information from it, or up here to be able to do a search on not only the current screen but also all the screens in your current history. So if you've been running for 3 or 4 hours, you could go back and have a look at something you were doing 3 hours ago to get the information that's relevant to you now. Also things like tools which you take for granted really on Windows, and users certainly do, things like the Office tools and most applications they use these days, come with things like autocomplete, auto-expand and spell checking. And certainly if you spell like me, you rely very much on spell checking. So here you can see an example of it coming up with the autocorrect, coming up with various options for the word there as well. Mentioned automation earlier as well, about the powerful feature called the macro language, which allows users to very quickly, or IT departments to create very quickly an automated set of tasks. Now the macro language that ships Reflection 2011 is Visual Basic for applications, which means that you're not having to learn a proprietary language. It's a standard Microsoft language. And certainly when we install the product, as soon as we mention that we're using VBA, the IT people are quite happy. As far as they're concerned, they've got the skills in-house to develop the macros they need. Now I mentioned throughout about the importance, and the reason people are moving to Windows 7 and 8 is mainly because of security, as well as of course XP sort of being out of support as well. So it's very important that the terminal emulator takes full advantage of the secure environment and enhances the security environment as well. So Reflection 2011 is the most secure terminal emulation product available to you. We can do things like restricting user access. We can do that through your user directory, such as Active Directory. So depending on what role within Active Directory people have, will depend on what they can do within the terminal emulator. We can contain what we call macro sprawl. This is where people internally learn they have a macro available and start emailing it out to other people. We can stop that by limiting where the macro will run from. So we can centrally control all that. We can help you meet your external security requirements, and we can protect sensitive data, which I'll talk about a bit more in a minute as well. So meeting external security requirements, using Reflection 2011 will help you comply with sort of regulatory mandates out there as well. And Reflection 2011, we certify our PKI infrastructure with the Department of Defense in the US, and also our SSL, TLS and SSH encryption algorithms are all validated by the US government using FIPS 142 as well. Now privacy filter is a very important feature in Reflection 2011. It's fully configurable, and what it allows you to do is say what information you want your users to be able to see and what information you want them to be able to copy into the clipboard. So for example, a credit card number on the screen, you wouldn't want them to be able to copy that into clipboard and start pasting that into another document to start harvesting off credit card numbers. But we can also go one step further as well. So here, for example, we have a screen where we can see the credit card number here. Now, as soon as the last digit of the credit card number is typed, we can redact that information live on that screen. So it means the credit card number is not displayed on that screen any longer than it needs to be. Also, when a screen is presented to us from the host, we can redact certain information from it as well, so the user doesn't get to see that information. And that can all be done without making any changes on the host. So we can help with something like PCI DSS compliance and things like that. Now as well, we mentioned about administration being very important as well. So Reflection 2011 has a number of features which are designed for controlling IT complexity. So we can make the installation of the product easy as well, and also the management of that product through its full life cycle as well. And we do that by maintaining centralized control of the product. Now we mentioned as well the importance of making the migration easier by perhaps going with one vendor for emulation rather than several vendors. And Reflection 2011 comes with some powerful tools to migrate from other emulators, including things like being able to run macros from other vendors as well. So no changes needed at all, we just run them natively. And also, people are looking at virtualization technologies today as well. So Reflection 2011 supports the Microsoft installer, and also it comes with a tool that allows you to customize the installation of Reflection, making it very easy to build a package which can then be deployed by your deployment departments. Mentioned virtualization technologies. We are finding these days as people move away from XP, they're using this as a reason to consider how they deliver that desktop to the users. What's the best way for that user to receive information? Is that through a standard desktop? Is it through Citrix? Is it through mobile devices and things like this? And also looking at completely virtualizing the application itself, running on those environments as well. And we fully support all these technologies. So virtualized world, of course, these days, virtualization to a lot of people means VMware, and it means basically running a virtual operating system. But also, of course, you've got things like terminal services, Citrix, but you've also got now, of course, things like actually virtualizing the application that actually sits on those desktops as well. So as I mentioned, Reflection 2011 was written from the ground up to work with Windows 7 and Windows 8. We didn't go for the shortcut route of simply making our XP product work. We went for what I believe to be the correct solution of writing it to take full advantage of the new platforms. It's a very secure product, and we can integrate with your user account. We can integrate to your user directory to control what people can do. And we can lock the users down to run with least privilege using the Windows user account control. It's a very easy product to manage and control and deploy the product as well, and we can control using tools the full life cycle of that product and also all the sessions that sit on the desktops. And as a company, we always have an eye on the future. Mobility. You've seen how we can make the product look and feel like an iPad or an Android application. And Attachmate have always been there when our customers have needed us, be that from the days of DOS to Windows 8. Now, talking about sort of futures, which really for many organizations is here today, and is quite often driven by users whose expectation is that they can have the information where they want it, when they want it. So the mobile revolution is kind of here today, really. But there's a big problem for companies where information is locked away in these host systems, and yet there's a need to provide that information out to people on mobile devices. Now, if all you want is a green screen, then we can provide that either with Reflection 2011, or we can provide a HTML5 representation of that green screen as well. But also, what we do is we bridge the gap between your legacy systems, if you like, and the mobile computing world out there. And if you have any requirements like that, then please contact us, and there's a link on this page as well here. So I'll now hand over to Camille now, who will go through some of the Attachmate facts.
Thank you, Malcolm. So, in summary, just to give you a 2-minute highlight on who the Attachmate Group are. Hopefully you do know us through the Reflection products, but we're a global organisation across 30 different countries. We've recently come to market as the largest private software company out there, and we've come out to 1.2 billion, just shy of 1.2 billion US dollars. We do have a solid balance sheet, and that's due to the fact that we've got some very loyal historical customers over the last 30 years. Malcolm's covered some of the concerns showed by many of our different customers, but these customers can be an array of different verticals in different countries of different sizes. So what we'd like to show you today is we have a strong leadership team globally, as well as a local presence here in the UK. Malcolm, if we could go across to our next slide to show you how we're working currently with Bytes locally. So the opportunities that we're working with our preferred partner here, Bytes, is in particular around the Microsoft and the migrations, the Desktop 7 migrations. The sweet spots where Attachmate comes from, as Malcolm's explained earlier, are around the legacy applications. So by that we really do refer back to the old IBM mainframes, the HP, Unisys, OpenVMS systems and Unix servers. This is our core competency and really where our customer base has come about. So what we'd like to do in conjunction with Bytes is understand the stages you may be at in adopting Windows 7 and or 8 or possibly mobile and how that links back to your legacy systems. Legacy does not have to be a hindrance or hurdle when considering adopting these new technologies. And through our experience with a huge amount of customers as well as our consultancy services, we're here to help you make sure that your integration across to these new platforms is seamless and, as Malcolm says, has no downtime on your business. So if you are customers out there experiencing pain, or even if you're midway and are yet to consider how the legacy applications do need to integrate, then please contact us. One thing we have learnt, due to the fact that we've been doing these migrations over the last few years with multiple different customers, is when people do look at their estates, many of our customers have found they have up to 5 times the number of original emulation users they thought. This could be just down to historical reasons, they've grown, they're using it in many areas they may not be aware of. So we're here to help with Bytes to understand how we can help you migrate those and make sure that they are all compliant with all the security standards you need to have. So many thanks to all of you for your time this morning. We will have the next slide that's got the Attachmate details as well as Bytes details. We have a huge amount of information on our external intranet, on our external website. So we do have a center solely for the Windows 7 migrations. We have many white papers, we have many documentations of what other customers have been through. So if you'd like to speak further about how we can help you, please contact either Attachmate or Bytes and we can tell you more.
Okay, so we've had a question come through that says, do you have any services or tools that could help us migrate if we do not have expertise in-house? So if I open that out to Malcolm.
Okay, yes, yes, good question to us, that one, yes. Yes, certainly we do. With our professional services team, we've done quite a number of these XP migrations now, and we've built up a process that we actually go through with customers, sort of looking at the inventory of what they currently have, working out any sort of duplications out there of things like macros and sessions, and then actually taking them through and migrating everything across as well. And I say it's something we've done a lot over the past 3 or 4 years, so we're very well versed at doing that, and we can certainly help you with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and if anybody else has got any questions, then please do pop those in now. No, I think that's everything. So I'll close off for now. So thank you very much for joining our webinar today. And as I said, we will be in touch and sending you out a copy of the presentation. And if you obviously do have any questions, then as we said before, please do get in touch and we'll be more than happy to help. So thank you for joining us today.